It was a sign of the TV times. On a cold morning outside the studios of TV-AM, picketers shouted abuse at Keep Fit presenter Lizzie Webb as she arrived for work.
You miserable cow! Somebody talk to me, for Christ's sake!
Meanwhile, over on the BBC was a TV pair who would eventually swap early mornings for late nights. This was the start of the 1st of November 1988, the date chosen to capture one day in the life of TV.
Thank you.
It's not just Television Centre here in West London that's changed. The whole TV landscape is a world away from the industry of 30 years ago. Back then, viewers were used to just 4 terrestrial TV channels. But in 1988, the industry was braced for an increase in choice. Satellite broadcasting was weeks away, bringing more content and, it was feared, more competition for cash and eyeballs. Nervous broadcasters sensed they were on a cusp of a revolution. So too did the BFI, which was why they set the project in motion.
Now, on the front are some very famous faces.
It embarked on a national campaign inviting viewers and industry people to keep a diary on the 1st of November to share details of how television fitted into their lives.
Your diary, your account of what television means to you.
Finished homework quite quickly, put my videotape in the machine and watched Philip Schofield on Blue Peter to find out exactly what I'm supposed to be writing down.
How much you watched, what you watched, whether you enjoyed it.
During break, talked about the Smash Hits poll winners party. And
the BFI received around 20,000 diary entries, many of which featured in a book.
While we've been on air, these guys here, a camera crew from Yorkshire Television, has been watching how we work.
But there was also footage, lots of footage. Celebrated drama director Peter Kosminski was a young Yorkshire television producer in 1988. He arranged for 40 camera crews to shadow programmes, executives, and some 25 years before Gogglebox, viewers themselves.
She said that a lot of people jolly well wanted to pay what she called those small charges for dental and eye checkups.
A little crap.
Kosminski turned the hundreds of hours of material into a 2-hour documentary, a day in the life of TV, yes, but peppered with warnings about the dangers facing an industry soon to be deluged by channels.
What will happen, it seems to me, is that we will get a profusion of programmes on a profusion of channels which will make things like blankety blank look like the Encyclopedia Britannica.
The result could be that you spread the audience wide and then actually nobody's got enough money to make the sort of programmes that work.
We were wrong in the sense that the multiplicity of channels has not led to a diminution of quality. In fact, in some respects, it's improved it. And I think we just have to hold our hands up and say we were wrong. I mean, you could see it in the moment when we took that snapshot why we were right to fear that.
Fast forward to 2018, and there are fresh worries gripping the traditional broadcasters. The revolution in content delivery means that viewers have never had it so good, but the cost of making quality programmes is spiralling in an upward direction. For example, it's reported that the cost of Series 1 and 2 of Netflix hit The Crown came in at £97 million. That's just under a third of last year's entire spend by BBC drama.
Although the challenges we face are completely different now, 30 years later, I feel the same sense of terror, really. And oddly, I haven't felt it much at any point in the 30 years between. I felt it then and I'm feeling it again now.
Something else has changed since 1988. Consult some of the diary entries in the BFI book and you'll find a few mentions of one of TV-AM's presenters. And listen to this exchange in the studio of one of the satellite channels that's just been host to model Jerry Hall.
We'll put it to the vote. Did you find Jerry Hall sexy, or did you think her model was sexier than she was?
Pascal was nicer.
Eh? You cracked her stiffy.
Jerry Hall does. I mean, she does that for me, I tell you.
When I look at the programme now, it's completely permeated by the attitude of society towards women generally. And similarly, and I remember including this at the time in ITN, you've got the one black face in the whole operation is the guy hoovering the floor.
3 decades on since parts of the industry feared for a future that in fact turned out some of the best homegrown TV the country has ever seen, traditional broadcasters are again wondering how to respond to the new generation of disruptors and innovators, ones with much more money and scant regulation. The threat seems even more existential than before.
There is this precious flower, which is this public service broadcasting ethos, which has challenged programs like mine, programs like Newsnight, to hold a mirror up to our society. And what I'm worried about, particularly in drama, is with the deep-pocketed streaming services coming in and increasingly being reluctant to co-produce with British public service broadcasters, they will crush that delicate little flower. And the programs that have distinguished our industry, really, the ones that have turned a spotlight on some of the areas that require investigation, but are of absolutely no interest to Netflix or Amazon or Apple or Facebook, will just not get made. And that, for me, would be an absolute tragedy.